In the quaint town of Riversdale, there lived a man named Jimmy. Jimmy had always been a compulsive liar, the kind of guy who couldn't resist embellishing even the smallest of stories. So when he got hired as a tour guide for the historical cemetery in town, he knew he was in for a challenge. His job was simple: just stick to the facts. But Jimmy couldn't resist making the stories more dramatic. He would weave tales of ghostly encounters and buried treasure, leaving the tourists wide-eyed and intrigued. At first, it was all harmless fun. Word spread quickly about the cemetery tours filled with thrilling tales, and Riversdale became a hot spot for ghost hunters, treasure seekers, and paranormal enthusiasts. People from all over would flock to the small town in hopes of experiencing the supernatural or striking it rich. And it wasn't long before chaos ensued. The peaceful town was inundated with eager treasure hunters digging up gardens, suspicious-looking ghost hunters roaming the streets, and paranormal enthusiasts setting up camp in the cemetery. The locals were overwhelmed and didn't know what to make of it all. Meanwhile, Jimmy was torn. On one hand, he loved the attention and excitement that his stories had brought to Riversdale. The town had become a bustling hive of activity, and he reveled in the newfound source of income for the community. But deep down, he knew he was responsible for this chaos. One day, as Jimmy was leading yet another tour through the cemetery, he noticed a group of children searching for buried treasure in the wrong spot. Panic washed over him as he realized the harm his lies had caused. Enough was enough, it was time to come clean. With a heavy heart, Jimmy gathered the tourists around him and admitted that his stories were nothing more than fabrications. He explained that the cemetery was rich with history but devoid of ghosts and buried treasure. The tourists were disappointed, but they appreciated Jimmy's honesty. As word spread about Jimmy's confession, the ghost hunters and treasure seekers gradually left Riversdale. The town slowly returned to its peaceful state, and the locals were grateful for the respite. In the aftermath, however, Jimmy found himself unemployed. The town council didn't appreciate the chaos he had caused and decided to let him go. With a heavy heart, he packed his bags and prepared to leave the town he had grown to love. But just as he was about to board the bus, the mayor called out to him. She explained that although Jimmy had caused chaos, he had also brought attention and income to the town. Recognizing this, she offered him a second chance. With tears in his eyes, Jimmy thanked the mayor and, with a newfound determination, promised to stick to the facts from that point forward. No more lies, no more wild tales. From that day on, Jimmy became the town's most reliable source of information, sharing the history of the cemetery without a hint of fabrication. And while Riversdale no longer attracted ghost hunters or treasure seekers, it became known as a town of honesty and integrity. People came from far and wide to learn from Jimmy, not because of wild tales, but because they knew they would be hearing the truth.